Hello and welcome back to the Mud Queen Muddcast. This is episode 8 and titled Pregnancy for a reason. I think at the moment pregnancy, throughout time pregnancy is relevant, but we've seen a couple of Mud Queens asking questions throughout the group about what to do with training, how to handle everything afterwards as well. So what we thought we'd do is we'd bring in Francesca of Mud Is My Makeup and the Ghost Squad. She's bad ass at the Ghost Squad. And Ginger, who recently did a dissertation on pregnancy and back pain. So we're going to geek out with those two. Apologies in advance in the fact that the sound quality isn't great. I tried as best as I could. Sorry, guys. I just want to apologise because we haven't been consistent with our podcast lately, but that's hopefully going to change now because I am finished with uni, no dissertations, no exams. I am happy in the sunshine. So, hope you enjoy, guys. All right, so welcome, Francesca. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We've got Ginger with us today as well.
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm really well, thank you. Yourself?
Again, I'm very good, thank you. So what we wanted to do today is obviously bring on Fran because Fran is carrying a little peanut in her belly.
Not so little at the minute.
Oh, how far along are you now?
I'm 28 and a bit weeks, so 11-ish weeks left to go.
Wow, that's going to go so quickly.
And then you'll never sleep again.
Yay!
I love it. So what we wanted to have you on today because clearly in the news and stuff like that, it's become a really relevant topic at the moment. Mud Queens are asking questions. We've seen kind of like the stuff that's been going on with Serena Williams becoming pregnant and actually playing while she's pregnant. We've seen people running while pregnant, like high profile. And from what I understand, you ran Spartan recently, didn't you? And it was a great experience, but not such a great experience.
Yes, I did the Spartan sprint at 24 weeks pregnant. I chose to do a Spartan race because I know that Spartan allow pregnant women to take part. And also, I know Spartan race so well. I know exactly pretty much what's going to happen, and I knew how low risk it was for me. On the whole, it was a really positive experience. For me, it was good. I ran with my boyfriend, who's first aid trained, personal trainer, and another friend, so that if anything went wrong, I had people with me. The marshals, everyone on the day was great. I didn't have any negativity from people on the day. It was more kind of like, oh, you're pregnant. Oh, okay, right. Great, carry on. This is weird. But everyone was fine. But I do know when the article that I wrote and there was a video was shared by Spartan, etc., there were some negative comments from people, which didn't surprise me. Less than I expected. But what did surprise me is that they were all from men.
Really?
All from men. A lot of women were just like, she can do what she wants. She knows what she's doing. Whereas I'd say 3 or 4 years ago, when I know of a woman who did a Spartan race pregnant, women really ripped her to shreds. So it was quite nice that the ladies had my back, but weird that the guys...
How did you go about, did you do all the obstacles? Were there any that you kind of went, oh, I have a bump?
My theory before I started was I will take it as it comes and see what happens. I thought I wouldn't do the walls, but I ended up doing all the walls. Tom basically gave me a leg up over them. I knew I wouldn't be doing the Atlas carry, which is big stone heavy ball, obviously. There was a weird one with a rope that you go across the wall. I couldn't do that because I have 0 core strength left. And then things like the rope climb, I said, well, I'll call it on the day if it's wet. I'm not even going to attempt it, but it was bone dry, so it was not a problem. So it was a case of seeing how I felt right at that moment and going, this feels okay, this doesn't feel okay.
Okay, and so what kind of, afterwards you said that, you did the blog and the video came out and, the guys were the ones that were the negative kind of side of it. What were they actually saying?
Oh, I mean, they didn't say a huge amount. It was basically just, this is stupidity, you're a moron. Just, I think they just were in disbelief that a woman would do this when pregnant. This isn't what, I mean, already a lot of men don't believe that women do these kind of things anyway, which is insane because we know that it's a massive market for women. But I perhaps being a guy and never, ever going to have that experience of being pregnant or being a woman, they can't imagine what it's like. I don't know. Maybe it's the lack of control of being able to select something, because it is quite scary. But
yeah, but to be fair, let's face it, if we look at actually history, it was only in the 80s when women still weren't allowed to run marathons and, you know, oh my God, your womb will fall out. Yeah. The baby will fall out if you start running.
If only labour were that easy that the baby would fall out.
Maybe if you had like 10 and they'd just walk out.
At once or one after the other.
Yeah. Love it. So do you think it's something like, you know, you wrote the article, do you think it's because it had to like be said? Do you think there is this kind of thing about like the stigma about women doing stuff? They find out they're pregnant, that's it, they've got to sit on their ass all the time.
Yeah, 100%. I think there is. I think women are scared. I think there's very little information out there. And also there is still, like you say, a judgment of women that do things because people don't really know what real is. If you look online and say exercising while pregnant, risks of exercising while pregnant, there are a few things that say the really sensible stuff like don't do something where your balance is compromised. Don't do exercises on your back. Don't do exercises that are heavy on your core, which all have really good reasons why. But a lot of things are still very anti it. And I think if especially you're one of the mums that would particularly go on forums and things like that, those places are rife with people that will judge you and just go, no, you can't do it. You can't do it. You shouldn't do anything. And then not judging, but I think some people use it as an excuse.
Do you think, like, if you weren't to do anything, what would that do? Because I know, like, at the end of the day, you know, there's loads of research on exercising for mental health and stuff like this. What would it do to you if you had to, if literally you had to stop exercising?
Oh man, well, do you know what? So far, I found the pregnancy relatively easy, apart from some things that my body does that I have no control about. But you know, I don't have any back problems because my back was strong beforehand and I'm trying to keep up with that in an appropriate way. I feel physically like I'm having a really, really easy pregnancy. And I do put that down to being able to stay active.
Yeah.
I am eating quite badly. Like sugar is my biggest craving, and I was never a sugar fiend before. So it's not that I'm perfect and I'm doing everything exactly as it should be. I'm still a pregnant woman, and I'm still tired, and I'll have really lazy days where I'll do nothing. But I think in terms of how my body feels, it's definitely just making it easier. It helps me sleep at night. It gives you a little space away. Even just walking the dog for a couple of kilometres is a really nice way of doing something. And
I noticed with one of the posts that went up about back pain and stuff like this, and we'll bring Ginger on in this because I know that she studied pregnant women in your final kind of
so my dissertation was based on lower back pain in pregnancy, but predominantly based around sport. So we interviewed a whole load of women looking at what sports they did to begin with, or if they even did, and what were the changes. And the vast majority of changes came on in the second trimester, which is when the real biomechanical changes come on. You know, the bump does get bigger, your centre of gravity changes, relaxing, the hormone is shooting around your body. But we had some women, the changes usually where people were going from really high intensity workouts and long distance running to lower impact stuff. So a lot of them changed over to weights, to swimming, or just to walking. I mean, we had a couple of pole dancers that stopped that because obviously the bump would get in the way. So you have to be quite realistic with it. I think it's each to their own.
But I noticed that you said that you got, when you were running, you have to do like the run walk thing now rather than anything else because obviously low blood pressure and stuff like that. But did you say that you got kind of like a lower back issue if you did try to kind of like beast it out?
I was having problems with my hips.
Yeah.
So it was quite early on. Basically, for the first period of my pregnancy, I was away abroad working. So I was quite active in terms of working, but not doing physical exercise. Then it was mainly in the second trimester when I was trying to keep up the fitness. And I was part of a running club with girls who I used to do CrossFit with. That's something that I've not done during pregnancy at all. And they knew I was pregnant, and we were slowing down a lot, and it was very slow. But for me at that point, I was still going quite fast. And I just realized afterwards, a couple of weeks, I did it once a week for a couple of weeks, and I just realized it wasn't doing me any good trying to keep up a good pace. Even though I accepted my running every week would get slower, I did find it was that bit in your hips between your tummy and your legs afterwards would be really sore. Even if I soaked in the bath, even if I tried to stretch, it was when I'd sit down then get up, they would be so sore. So I thought, right, well, I want to keep moving. Mm-hmm. So then I started doing trail runs, and I would, for example, I did a 7K the other day, and it took me an hour, which for me is just, it's crazy. And I would run maybe only 100, 150 meters. Then I'd walk again. Then I'd run, and then I'd walk.
Yeah. So I was just saying, your slow pregnancy pace is faster than my running pace right now. Actually, no, I think that's a bit dramatic. But
each their own, isn't it? It's kind of keep up with your own body.
Yeah, that's sorry, I cut across you. That's also the pregnancy is that you've been sensible. You're listening to your body and saying, right, that's not working. Let's adapt and try something new. And that's important. I mean, obviously, in general, we're speaking about healthy pregnancies. You don't have a complex pregnancy. You're overall healthy, and you were exercising beforehand. But in normal scenarios, would say, go and have a chat with your midwife, your GP, just to get in the all clear. But how do you find, so mentally, the change? Are you okay with dropping down from that speed to the new current speed?
Yeah, it was tough at first, because you always want to think that your body's capable of doing loads of things. But I think there's also then a greater thing, which is I've got a baby inside me, and my big job is to make sure that's okay. But I also have to look after my own body. So there are two bodies I'm looking after. If I beast myself now, chances are in the long term, I'm going to cause long-term damage. So it's not going to do me any good right now. But to keep moving in a way that's appropriate will do me good in the long term. It will make the pregnancy that easier, and it will mean that recovery, hopefully, fingers crossed, is easier. And also there's evidence to say that it should make labour easier if you are fit and strong.
Yeah.
So it was quite tough, and there are a lot of things that I know I cannot do.
Yeah.
But then I have to go, yeah, but look what I still can do. This is cool. I didn't expect to be able to do this at nearly 7 months pregnant. And it's looking at it that way and saying, yep, this is not what I can do, but I'm not the same person right now. I am a different person right now. I'm two people right now.
I love it. Yeah. That's funny. So going back to like the hip thing and stuff like that, for Ginger, like what are the main kind of things that women experience?
Are we talking about the kind of pain that they feel, or the actual change? So it's really common to get the lower back pain because your lower back is actually going to a more extended position. So if you think like a duck butt, you're sticking your butt out and you're arching your back.
Yeah.
Because the centre of gravity, everything is at the front. So you've already got a level of loading on your spine. That combined with your now supermobile joints that are preparing themselves for pregnancy, you lose your natural shock absorption. So when you are running, particularly if you're doing tarmac running, it does increase your chances of getting that ooh-ow pain.
Yeah.
Also, your hips are more open, so when you're running, you don't necessarily have the same gait that you would have. People often talk about the pregnancy waddling gait.
Are you waddling yet?
No. Sometimes if my hips are really sore, I'll get a little bit of a waddle, but I've not got it yet. I've been very fortunate with lower back pain. I've not had any lower back pain yet. It's only been the hips. But no, I'm hoping I won't waddle too much. It looks uncomfortable.
So there are cases like there's an Olympic athlete, I never get her first name right, but it's like Alicia Montano, who ran an 800-metre US track in 2 minutes while 34 weeks pregnant. There was also an Olympic volleyball player who got gold medal in 2012 while pregnant. So I think the thing is just be sensible with what sports you're doing. Avoid contact sports. If you're an MMA fighter, maybe not the best time. Avoid things that, like skiing, for example, because the change of the centre of gravity in your body. If you're skiing, you're going to be more like a risk of falls. So I think, with the Spartan race, you were really sensible in choosing what you could and couldn't do. And that's the key, is being sensible and being logical.
Well, it's like I mentioned about CrossFit. I know there are ladies at my box who are pregnant and they are still doing CrossFit, and the guys, they're absolutely fine with it. And I know it is accepted. But for me, it's something that I've been doing so sporadically throughout the year because I've been away so much with work. I just thought, even though my body's nice and strong, it doesn't feel appropriate. I'm not going to be doing CrossFit. And I think that was the right call. Whereas other things I've stuck with, because yoga, ballet, etc., they are more low impact and they're nice for stretching, and they're still good workouts without then getting your heart rate really, really high, which is something that I understand you have to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah. And also making sure that when you're working out, you're not aiming for new PBs. If you haven't done it before you're pregnant, don't try and do it now. I think they recommend, if you are going to start doing even the basics that you're not used to doing, such as cycling, or there's cardiovascular classes that you can get out there for pregnant women as well, is just start with 15 minutes and build up, and make sure you can still hold a conversation. Because if you're, you're adding a lot of stress. Joe's laughing at my impression now, but that's how I sound when I run.
That's how I sound when I walk at the minute, to be honest. I get out of breath so easily.
Yeah. When you got pregnant, obviously you found out you're pregnant, and you're quite heavily involved in OCR, and your job's quite active as well, and you're part of Ghost Squad, so it's not like you're not active. But did you find much help from the likes of your GP and the NHS?
Believe it or not, I've not actually seen my GP when pregnant. I don't know how it works around here, but I rang them up when I got home from my long trip away. I took a pregnancy test. I was like, yep, definitely pregnant. Thought I was. And I rang up my GP and said I'm pregnant. They're like, yeah, it's nothing to do with this. Call your midwife. So it's been nothing to do with them. In terms of the midwives, it's a really difficult one because they're not specialised in things. So I've found if I want specialist information, I haven't been speaking about that. For example, OCRs to my midwife, because most of them wouldn't know what it is or know who I am and what I'm capable of, and would probably just say, no, it's not safe. This is a really difficult one to answer because I didn't ask them. I don't know how to answer. Not been any use to me whatsoever.
We have this whole postcode lottery where you can be dependent on what information you get, what help you get, how much help, the quality of help. If your GP's not into keeping someone moving, you're more likely not to get that kind of advice. The same with your midwife. I know from the experience of my housemate being pregnant and afterwards, that the midwives and the health workers, what are they called? The health workers that come after the midwife.
Oh, I've not got to that bit yet. I don't know.
But basically, they have a set thing that they can actually prescribe. They can only say so much. They're not allowed to give personal opinion, even if they think...
Well, I suppose midwives are specialists in regular pregnancies.
Yeah.
So their job is to make sure a very normal pregnancy goes ahead as it is, unless it's somebody like Christy, for example, who's a midwife and into OCR, but you wouldn't know that if she was your midwife. I suppose it's very limited what they can tell you. I'm quite unfortunate because the GP I was with my whole life left before I got pregnant. And had I still been with him, I think things would have been a lot easier to get information because I could have spoken to him and he knows me very, very well. So yeah, you're right. It's a lottery as to who you get. But in any case, whatever you want to do, you've got to speak to them and you've got to seek advice from people, whether it's people that you know who are specialists in subjects, or whether it's the midwife that you get when you go to the hospital. More advice is always good.
Yeah.
And it's also getting the right, especially if you do decide to exercise, there are personal trainers out there that have training in it or are specialised in it. The same for wellness practitioners such as chiropractors, osteopaths, sports masseurs, whatever your chosen one is. There's a lot of people that will be able to help maintain you through exercising through your pregnancy and to give you advice, because the government guidelines in general are it's highly recommended. There are times when women can't due to health problems or they have got a complicated pregnancy, but overall keep moving is the ultimate goal. And as you progress through the pregnancy, accepting that you do need to step it down. I mean, I worked with a girl that was still riding up until 2 days before she dropped. But she was, I must stop saying dropped.
It works. It
worked, yeah. But she had the most tidiest bump I'd ever seen. And she was riding very safe horses, and it was actually her weekend off, and then she phoned the Sunday night. It was like, hey, we've got a baby. I'm like, wow, you literally were riding 2 days ago.
See, the government advice is, or the standard advice is, I think, half an hour 5 times a week of low impact exercise such as swimming or walking, which is great but not relevant for everyone.
Yeah.
Like you say about pregnancy specialists, my yoga teacher is a pregnancy specialist, but I've still been going to it's called yoga for sport. It's like just intense stretching with very little of the spiritual side. And when I told her I was pregnant, she said, brilliant, that's fine, I will adapt for you. Do not go to pregnancy yoga yet, because you will be bored, and I'll tell you when you need to move over. And I can trust her that she knows exactly what's right for me.
Yeah.
And that's really important, because there are quite a few things in yoga which I didn't know you shouldn't really be doing.
Yeah.
And is there any kind of go-to advice on the internet? So, because obviously there are some people that just don't have access to, people that know about pregnancy in sport and what have you. I know that there was someone that just said that their GP, was useless. Is there anything online that you've kind of like gone to kind of read up and stuff like that?
Yeah, I have looked online a fair amount. I would avoid anything where it's a forum and it's people's opinion, because they tend to just be judgmental rather than evidence-based. There are, on the whole, the majority of articles you read, whether it's from a pregnancy-based website or a fitness-based website, will say roughly the same things, which are keep active, keep doing what you've been doing, modify, and these are the kind of things that you should avoid, such as heavy core-based exercise things with balance, skiing. I mean, riding is something that I imagine people would say don't do, but if you are a rider and that's what you do every single day.
Yeah, and that's normal for them.
Yes,
and it's interesting you said about the forums, because that's one of the things my dissertation really flagged up was, I think it was something like 84% of the women interviewed used One Born Every Minute and forums for their information based on the birth and what they should and shouldn't be doing. Some of them had actually never spoken to a qualified practitioner about it, and they were purely going off of what they were finding through social media. And that's scary. It's kind of the way the world is going, but...
In a way, it's good, because if you have people that you can talk to, but... I mean, for example, on Mud Queens lately, we've seen people asking questions, and the responses are very mixed, but you feel in a group like that, it tends to be people you can trust. There are some online parenting websites with forums that just always end up being horrible, and no matter what you ask, you'll probably be told you're a moron and you shouldn't do it. And I think that can be dangerous because it's opinion only. There will be a handful of people who have evidence, but on the whole, it's opinion only, and it's from people from a wide range of experience.
Yeah.
Who's to say that's the right thing for this lady that's asking?
True. I mean, have you thought about afterwards, actually, once you've given birth, what are your plans? Are you going to see how you go before you get back into exercise?
Yeah.
Because obviously there's a lot of research out there, and depending on if you're having a normal pregnancy, if you're having a cesarean, it varies as to how long.
So we'll be seeing you at World Champs, yeah? Canada?
I will be in Canada. I'm not competing. I'm, fingers crossed, hoping to not have a cesarean. If it has to happen, it has to happen. I would like it not to, because obviously the recovery is just a bugger. I do have plans to do the Spartan Beast 8 weeks after my due date.
See you there. I'll be dying at the back.
But, it's dependent on whether I'm healed or not. And everything I'm doing is whether I feel fine. I still have another Spartan Super planned in the next 2 weeks. But some days I feel fantastic and I could feel I could do something easily. Some days I don't. Yesterday, for example, I was trying to paint the wall and bending down to pick the paint up. I was just feeling, dizzy. And I just thought, this is impossible. And today I feel fantastic. So it's, in terms of that, it's calling it. And then in terms of post-pregnancy,
every day is a surprise.
Every day is a surprise. I will take advice on that.
Yeah.
But I mean, my boyfriend's a personal trainer, but he's not specialised in pregnancy. I'll still ask him, but it's that'll be a new realm of research, I think.
Yeah.
And seeing how I feel, but I want to get back into it soon because I don't want to let things slide and then not be fit and healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's also important. It will reflect through, people always say it reflects through their motherhood, doesn't it? As to how fit they are, how much they can play with their kids and whatnot. And I mean, obviously your baby's going to be in a very fit family. And probably if Tom had anything, lots of selfies the whole way through as well. So it's going to be very cute, which we look forward to following.
Selfie out the womb, it'll be.
Oh, God.
Oh,
I just had a terrible mental image.
No. There's no Nash tagging that stuff.
No, I'm shutting up.
No.
And that's a really interesting thing women have to... Okay, I know you kind of... I was going to say it. Hashtag. I'm so sorry. No, we can cut that up. I like that you're just like, go, go, go. Right. And I think it's really important post-pregnancy to remember your body has, even though it's perfectly natural, some people will have more of a traumatic experience. And it does take time before you can get back to exercising. I mean, the cesarean thing is really relevant because somebody brought it up recently that actually you shouldn't be getting back into anything too serious within sort of 12 to 16 weeks afterwards because it's, they've literally cut through the muscles and the fascia of your abdomen. So although on the outside it looks healed, it's actually all the internal stresses that are the problem. And you can lead to having some really quite bad pelvic girdle problems and internal sort of wound drops and sort of things. That's not, I don't mean wound drops. Prolapses and bits. If you don't heal properly. So it's really important to I know people miss the running and they miss the exercise, but just to sit back and go, my body's been through something.
It is a mindset shift, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got to be really kind of like, I'm doing this for both of us and all that kind of stuff. But mindset shifts, as we all know, can be really difficult. They're not just a simple click of the fingers and yay, this is how I feel about everything.
Yeah.
It is a process. I think, because we see it with injury as well, because it's almost essentially like an injury. It is what it is. But I think it's great though, because you're coming across as someone that is actually thinking about this logically, not emotionally.
Yeah.
And that you kind of, I know that with sports psychology and stuff like that, we obviously want people to think logically rather than emotionally, which people are like, but sport is very emotional. But then the whole point is if you can look at it logically, then you're going to keep yourself safer.
Yeah.
And your baby safer. So it is a mindset shift, and I think that, the way you're talking about it is, having awareness of how you feel.
Yeah.
Rather than taking on everybody else's opinions. Like you're saying, okay, that's your opinion, but this is how I'm feeling.
This is how relevant it is to me.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting as well with what you're saying, Ginger. It's finding that fine balance between what's appropriate for your body. But yeah, like you say as well, Ginger, it is like an injury. If you push yourself too much, long term, it's going to be doing damage. If you don't do enough, long term, it's probably not going to do you great. You've got to find that fine balance of doing just the right amount for you. And of course, we have to stay active. We're human beings. It's what we do. It's what we're made to do. And historically, we always would have been active. It's only in the last however many hundreds of years of civilization that women wouldn't have been as active. And we're all totally different people, but our bodies are made to keep moving. And if we were made to sit and not move the whole time we were pregnant, then that's what would happen. We would turn into a ball and we'd be put in a box or something. But we're not. We are perfectly capable of still existing and still moving. It's harder for some, it's easier for others. But it's just finding the right balance.
It is. And if you look at tribes in Africa and places like that where their pregnant women are still doing all the water carrying, everything up until the day they give birth, and then they just carry on as normal. It's a completely normal thing, and it's only really with sort of moving of the times, modernisation, that we get maternity leave and things now, and we get the time. It's amazing to have to spend that time bonding with your baby. There are obviously other places that don't have that available, but there are some people that almost treat it like a disability, and I think it is really important to remember it's natural, it's normal. If you get an ache, rest for 24 hours. If it doesn't go away, get it looked into. But also I think that the conversation from the thread yesterday was the woman that said about she'd noticed she was waddling was because somebody had pointed it out. That's a really good thing because they've potentially stopped her causing an injury or making something worse for further on down the line. So if someone tells you waddling, don't get upset. I know you never want to anger the pregnant woman. I get that. But
hey, it's weird. I'm nicer as a pregnant woman than I was as non-pregnant. A few people have pointed it out. Jojo looks disbelieving, but it's true.
Now I want to poke you and make you angry and see if there's a difference between the two, but I'm not that brave.
Try it. It's fine.
I love that.
Yeah, bring it on.
I'll still cut a bit.
I'll be nice. I'm full of love. Yeah, even last night I was at a ballet class and I always get the jokes about, I've been having the jokes about baby brain made at me for ages. My memory's always been terrible. I have to work on my memory. So it's not baby brain, but we were doing something and I was as rubbish at it as I was prior to pregnancy. And someone's like, yeah, but you're pregnant. It's like, it's not an excuse yet. It's not an excuse. I'm fine. Don't other people want to mollycoddle you. And sometimes it's fantastic. You're like, that's exactly what I need today. And sometimes like, no, today is not the time for that excuse. I am fine. That is just me being rubbish. And I always have been.
Yeah. I love that. I'm standing by my principles of being rubbish.
I've never been able to do this. And I definitely can't do it now. And that is fine. But it's not because of the baby.
Oh, I love it.
That is brilliant. I like that.
I love it. Right, so enough of this baby crap. Let's talk about some other stuff that you've been doing. Because you we followed you. Was it last year, Spartan X?
Yeah. Yes, it was last year.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So yeah, we all kind of got into that. There was a couple of people that were like, "No spoilers," because you just kind of disappeared. And no one knew why, what was going on, and you all of a sudden turned up on the TV in a field with other people doing stuff. So, I mean, you really have been kind of here, there, and everywhere doing stuff. So, like, this kind of presenting that you do with Insight X, I mean, how did that come about?
So, I did the TV show Spartan X, as you pointed out. That happened because of the blog that I write. Mud is My Makeup. They found me. They were casting for this show for a new TV channel, and they went out and found people. And I think it was because of a picture from a Spartan race that I was wearing a Mudsel shirt, and they managed to track me through the Spartan race website down to my blog and said, do you want to do this? I was like, yeah, 100%. Sounds amazing. Hardest but most amazing thing I've ever done in my life. And I finished filming that show, met with the head of the channel on the day that I'd been kicked out, as it were, and she said, yeah, do you want to work for us? And I was like, well, this sounds like bullshit, but sure, sounds great. You never believe those things, do you? And I was like, yeah, of course, that sounds brilliant. She's like, cool, okay, I'll be in touch. And then they were in touch, and then they offered me a contract. And as in the line from Clueless, they took a chance on an unknown kid. And it was great. I basically, beginning of last year, Spartan X was filmed in 2015, but aired 2016. Beginning of 2015, I kind of got thrown in at the deep end, filming 2 totally different TV series. And it turns out I love it. It's a great job. I get to kind of meet loads of different people, never have to sit in an office, travel a lot, learn so much, which is just really nice. And it's a great job. It's kind of not happening at the minute because I'm not much used to anyone with a giant baby bump. But I'm looking forward to going back to it next year.
Yeah. So where can everybody find you on the TV?
So the channel has an on-demand platform online, which is insight.tv, or it's also available on Sky on channel 564. And the second series I did will be airing in June, and it's quite an exciting one.
Any spoilers?
Yeah, a tiny few spoilers.
Heard it here first at Mud Queens.
It's a series called Access All Areas, and it's kind of like an adventure discovery series. I travel to 10 different cities in the world and do a range of things such as troll hunting,
Ooh.
ghost hunting, and meeting people, basically discovering what makes these places what they are. I go to the Sahara, I trek across the Sahara and stay with a Berber tribe. I meet the lost generation of New Orleans, who basically lost everything in Hurricane Katrina. And on a totally different note, I also go hunting for Bigfoot in Massachusetts. So it was a really crazy couple of months filming that, but really awesome.
What did you learn from all that? Like, what was your takeaway from doing all these random things? But I mean, especially with, say, like the people that lost so much from Hurricane Katrina, was that difficult?
It was. That was probably one of the more emotionally difficult ones. It was quite strange. I met some young guys who weren't much different in age from me, and they were really, really nice guys. If you watch the episode, you'll see my chats with them. And one guy said really stuck with me. He looked like, I walked into his house, he was smoking weed, the house was just a bit messy, and he looked like someone that you wouldn't want to mess with. He was so nice, and we were having this conversation. He's telling me about how he'd been shot when he was a child, how rough the area he lives in. But then he was also telling me he has a degree and he can't get work because no one will hire him. And the only thing he can do where he lives, which is the lower 9th ward, which is very, very dangerous place in New Orleans, is basically sell drugs. And it really upset me because I realized how privileged at that moment that I was, because nobody had ever told me I can't do something.
Yeah.
I'd never had that message given to me that you cannot do something. The message has been, whatever you want to do, try it. And this guy who has the same qualifications as me, just because he's born somewhere else, has basically no chance. So it was eye-opening to meet a lot of different people in so many different walks of life.
I cannot wait to watch that. When does it come out?
So it starts airing in June.
Ooh, I'll be setting a date for that one because my last exam is June 7th, so I'm going to have a month of house hunting and avoiding everything.
Yeah, we're going to binge watch.
Some with Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
Nice.
So going from that, obviously you did some ghost hunting, but you are actually part of the Ghost Squad, the only female member of the Ghost Squad. How the hell did that happen?
So the Ghost Squad traditionally was described as the vanguard of tough guy. They were, the slogan is when you need them most and expect them the least. Ed Gamester is kind of the head ghost. And I met him at my first ever tough guy, which was hell. I won't deny. And he appeared over this mound of mud, this tattooed behemoth of a man, as I was just about to give up, and I was stuck in the mud, and it was in the trenches and I couldn't get out, and I just thought, I hate this, and he yoinked me out and sent me on my way. I had no idea who he was, but I wrote a review for Obstacle Race magazine, mentioned this chap, and he got in touch and said, yeah, that was me. I am Ed of the Ghost Squad. So we just started chit-chatting as you do when you virtually meet people. And it was, I think it was after I'd done Spartan X and shared a bit of information, he was like, you like tough guy, you like doing stuff, why don't you come and join us? This sounds good. And fortunately, I am odd enough to get away with joining their ranks. and I did. I was quite nervous the first time because I didn't know any of these guys, and they're quite awesome, but they're so lovely. Like, they look terrifying, but they are just the nicest guys. They're very cool. They're too cool for me, to be honest. And I think I've done 3 tough guys with them. And then we're also going to be making a guest appearance at Nuclear.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yes, I know.
That's amazing, though. So you're going to be all dolled up with bump in tow?
Indeed.
Obviously, bumping will be in tow, but...
Yeah.
A little bump will get more of an experience this time because it's, it can hear stuff and whatever.
Oh, I'm really upset that I'm not going to be at Nuclear.
You should be.
I can't. I've got exams and I've got my naked run things going on and all sorts.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, the first time I met Ed was at, I think it was Mud 7 when he was there doing the Look Tough Guy bit. And I think I literally harassed him while he was on the drums. I was like, you're awesome, you have long hair, you're painted, you're drumming, I'm staying here. And then got talking with him afterwards, and he's just fantastic. Absolutely.
He is. That was absolutely brilliant. The Tough Guy Ghost Squad section at Mud 7 was great. It was all really good, but like, you got to that bit and you're like, dude, I'm a tough guy. And it really felt like it. And a lot of that was down to them, I think.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah. So you'll be at Nuclear. We'll see you at Nuclear. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Going even further back in time, your blog, Mud is My Makeup. Why? Because, I mean, we have a couple of different women that blog, but it seems to be quite intermittent at the moment. There doesn't seem to be a massive female presence when it comes to women in OCR, like at the top or just in general. I know we have Amy present for Mudstacle, but otherwise there's not really a massive kind of female contingent when it comes to that kind of stuff. So why did you start Mud is My Makeup?
So I did my first OCR in 2013. And it was something I'd always been really interested in, but I'd only heard of Tough Mudder. Gasp. But I never wanted to do it because it was a 10-miler. And I was like, I can't do a 10-mile race. Someone mentioned Spartan race to me. I was like, 5K, definitely can do that. That's great. And what I found was I'm a bit of a loser. And when I do things, I want to kind of research. And I was researching, but a lot of the information I was finding was American. I didn't really know what to wear. I didn't know what to expect. I want to know what to expect. So I basically started this blog quite a while after, but I started it just so that people who wanted to get into doing the sport would know what to expect, just to encourage people to get in. And part of the point was, I'm not an elite. I'm a really regular person, but I can do it. So you can do it too. I don't have any specialist training equipment. I mean, my job is totally different now, but at the time I was working a 9 to 5 in an office, which is what most people tend to do. It's totally doable.
Yeah.
And giving as much advice as I could to the newbie who wants to get into it. And that was really the be all and end all of it.
Still blogging?
Yeah, it's tailed off a lot because last year I was away pretty much most of the year. I managed to do the Winter Tough Guy and the Summer Tough Guy as Ghost Squad. And I managed to attend Rat Race Dirty Weekend, but I was forbidden by work to take part because basically they didn't want me to get injured or ill, which is totally understandable because Rat Race, for example, is a 20-miler. It's a big old race. So I brought in a few guest bloggers last year. Emily Red, who is awesome, and Hattie did a few nice little things for me.
Yeah.
But like you say, it is difficult getting people in. It's not that it's a female blog, but I do like to encourage women, and it is nice to have a female presence on that. But it's difficult to find women who I can get to contribute. If I can, I would love to have people contributing all the time. And then I was going to write about my pregnancy experience doing Spartan, but then that ended up going to Muddcast, which is naughty to me. I should have kept it, but it's
yeah. Well, you can link it in, can't you? It's like, here's the article, but on Muddcast.
Find it here. But yeah, it has tailed off, but it's something that I want to kind of I don't have a word for that.
Rekindle?
Rekindle. It's something I want to rekindle. It's tough though, because you find, and I think most of the bigger publications find the same thing, you end up repeating information.
Yeah.
Here's another Spartan race. Here's another nuclear nuts. They're unless you're going to get down to personal information, which actually most of my blogs always are quite personal, it is kind of the same info over and over again. And you kind of think, what's the new angle on this?
What about getting Hattie in with her OCR crash? Be like, write a blog on that.
Oh, good call. That is a good call.
Quite relevant. Which I wish her all the luck to. I don't know if you're...
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
But yeah, I'm really jealous you're all at nuclear and I'm not.
Sod exams come.
Little violin playing.
Tiny. You can barely see it.
Well, it looks quite big in your freakishly small hands.
Yeah. Thanks. Anyway, right, okay, so I think we should wrap it up there. Thank you very much, Fran. Any last words for any pregnant mud queens out there that may be debating pregnancy and exercise?
Yeah, give it a go and just listen to your body.
Yeah.
You're your own person. You know what you're capable of. Just try it and see how it goes. Be careful, but go for it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.